So, Shannon, let's bring in our headliner. Leonard Leo is the advisor of the president for judicial nominations, and he is our guest live to talk about where we are now. Sir, thank you for your time. Good morning to you. I'm going to begin the questioning. Shannon will be in here as well. So, you met with the president yesterday. Tell us about that.
Spoke with him on the phone yesterday, and it's a really extraordinary process. He has worked so hard. He's, met with the four candidates or spoken with them. He's looked at their records. He's talked to his advisors. He's had his White House counsel, Don McGahn, reach out to members on both sides of the aisle in the Senate, talk to them about this process. I've never seen a president work harder and reach out more broadly than this one to really make sure he gets it right.
What did he ask you yesterday, Leonard?
Well, he told me quite clearly that he knew all of the four people pretty well. And that really was very heartening to me. He's really looked at their records carefully. Basically, he said that he's going to be making a decision. It was either going to be last night or this morning. I think he's well prepared, very well prepared for this.
Do you want to tip your hand?
No, that's the president's prerogative, and I couldn't in any event.
Fair enough. I didn't expect you to. Here's the president leaving New Jersey, as you just described. Listen here.
I'm very close to making a final decision. Not yet. And I believe this person will do a great job. But I'm very close to making a decision. Have not made it official yet, obviously. Have not made it final, but we're very close to making a decision. Let's say it's the four people, and they're excellent. Everyone, you can't go wrong. But I'm getting very close to making a final decision.
There it is. You just described it, Leonard. Just a specific question. Did he express to you whether or not he was concerned about the difficulty of the process, whether or not that entered his decision-making?
Every confirmation battle is a big one these days, and he knows that. But he's also very confident that under the leadership of Senator McConnell, this is something that can happen swiftly by the first Monday of October when the court begins to meet. So I think he's very confident that any of the finalists will be confirmed by the Senate.
Okay, I want to bring in my colleague Shannon, who covers the court for a living. Shannon.
Hey, Leonard, I just want to ask you about the idea that conservatives are worried that they're going to get something unexpected. They look at Republican nominees or nominees who came from Republican presidents. We think about Justice Stevens, Justice Souter, and conservatives said they didn't get what they hoped for or thought. I mean, some would even argue Justices Kennedy or O'Connor. Can you ever be really sure that's not going to happen?
Shannon, this is a president who ran on the Supreme Court issue more than any other presidential candidate, and he energized the voters in a way that no other presidential candidate has on this issue. It was one of the major factors that propelled his election and helped to hold the Senate. He continued that momentum with Neil Gorsuch, and I think people understand exactly what the president wants, someone who's going to interpret the law, as your clip recently noted, and I think that's what people are going to get.
Well, three of these judges, at least of the four that we think are in the running, they have very lengthy records. The judge, Amy Coney Barrett, doesn't. I mean, she's got a long record as an academic. She has written and spoken a lot, and Democrats clearly are saying that's a big problem for them, what they've heard from her. How much do you think the issue of religion will factor in? We saw it in her first Senate confirmation. If it's her, she's going to get dragged through that again.
Well, religion shouldn't factor into any confirmation process. And Judge Barrett has made it very clear, and this is what her life's work has been about, that courts should stay out of politics. And what that basically means is that for a judge to be fair, it's not about their own personal views or their cultural or social backgrounds. It's about interpreting the law as it's written, recognizing that there are very specific limits on government power in the Constitution, and those have to be enforced and respected by a judge. So religion or other social or cultural factors really shouldn't come into the process at all, and it's unfortunate when they do, because it really does politicize the courts in a way that I think the American people would prefer not happen.
Well, and Leonard, one more question as regards Judge Amy Coney Barrett. When you look at her, I hear from a lot of conservative groups, they're excited about her. She is the one who would excite the base. There would be grassroots support. They're not quite as excited about some of the others. Does that factor in for the president, looking at who would be most excited by his pick?
Obviously, Judge Barrett is an exciting pick for lots of different reasons, but So are the other prospective nominees. All of these people have basically made their life's work the business of keeping courts out of politics. They've made their life's work interpreting the Constitution as it's written, and they all understand and can articulate very forcefully the idea if you want to preserve dignity and freedom in America, then basically, you want to have judges who are going to enforce the Constitution as it's written and enforce limits on government power. And that will excite the president's supporters across the board.
Leonard, at one point you said you can throw a dart at that list and you'd be happy with any of those picks. I don't know if the president feels that way, but I'm just quoting your words. Democrats have a much different view of all this, and I think you're really getting ready for a fight there in Washington, D.C., especially when you compare it to the nomination process of Neil Gorsuch. I think it has the sense and the taste of a very different battle. Here's Richard Blumenthal talking, well, about that just yesterday.
The president's outsourced this decision to the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation. I've never seen a president of the United States, in effect, make himself a puppet of outside groups and choose from a group of right-wing fringe ideologues.
Care to answer that? Puppet?
Yeah, sure.
Right-wing ideologues.
First of all, this president has been more involved and more transparent than any other president in modern history regarding Supreme Court nominations. The first president ever to actually put a list out publicly so that people can look at those nominees carefully. The first president I've ever known who has worked very long hours talking to people, reaching out to Democrats and Republicans in the Senate alike to talk about candidates. That's just insulting and offensive, and it's not true. This is a president who is committed to getting this right, by which he means finding someone who's extraordinarily well qualified, fair, and who's going to interpret the Constitution as it's written. And the fact of the matter is, the Gorsuch confirmation process was a battle also. We can all wear rose-colored glasses now and say it was seamless and there was no controversy, but of course there was. He had over 760 opinions. He had a record at the Justice Department that was looked at. Democrats were very hard on him, and as you may remember, there was a big battle over whether or not we were going to have a filibuster. So, this is going to be a battle just like that one, and if the president nominates someone just as qualified and just as committed to those core principles of our Constitution, he or she will get through the Senate very well, I'm sure.
The other thing he said is that the president's looking for people who are, in his words, not weak. What does that mean? Can you define that? What does it mean in the eyes of this president when he says you're not weak?
It's so important to have a judge who is fair and independent and courageous, who's not going to be swayed by the social or cultural fashions or political fashions of the day. That's what he's looking for. This is something he places a high premium on. And, of course, we knew that from his selection of Neil Gorsuch, who really made it very clear during his confirmation hearings that politics has no place on the bench. It's why judges wear a black robe. They wear a black robe because they give up their own personal predispositions, their own personalities, and they're just supposed to interpret the law as it's written.
Shannon.
Oh, well, Leonard, we know the president often goes on relationships and how he feels, a gut feel about people. We've seen that with domestic and foreign leaders. How does that factor in here? Because each of these nominees has a very interesting story. We think about Judge Hardiman driving a taxi to put himself through Georgetown Law School. Judge Kethledge, somebody who often writes from a little section of the family barn in upstate Michigan. He goes out hunting with his son. Judge Kavanaugh has a very D.C.-centric story. And, of course, there are others, Judge Barrett. We think about her. She's a woman who's balancing all kinds of things, 7 children, a couple of whom are adopted, with a very busy career as an academic and now as a judge as well. How much do you think that factors in for the president?
For this president and for every other I've known, character and personality is really important, because what you want is a judge who understands what it means to be fair and independent and courageous, balanced. You want someone who's going to struggle with questions that come before the court, not predetermined results. And that requires that you know something about an individual's background, that you know they've seen adversity, that they've seen some trial by fire, and they know how to deal with it. This president obviously is a very good judge of character. He's been in business a long time. He understands what leadership and courage is. And he's looking for that in his final nominee, I'm sure.
Leonard, thanks for being here today. Kavanaugh, Barrett, Hardiman, Kethledge. Do you think we're in the right range of those 4?
I think the president's doing a great job limiting the list down to those 4. And I think they all have great qualities and attributes that will help to improve our justice system.
Got it. I'll take that as a yes then, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Absolutely.
Leonard Leo, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, okay? Thank you.